We're live. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the remote, well, actually, it's the Litchfield Capital Improvement Planning Committee meeting for August 17th, 2020. Would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. So this evening, before we get started, I will open it up. We usually have 2 public input sessions for the meeting. So I will open it up to public input. Is there any members of the public out there who have anything they wish to comment on?
There are no members of the public out here.
Okay, thank you. All right, hearing none, I'll close public input. On to the business. First off, this evening, approval of the meeting minutes for 7/20/2020. Do we have those, and have anybody had an opportunity to take a look at them? Have any questions?
I only had one question. I didn't have an opportunity to go back and watch the video, but in a few of the votes was 3-0. I thought I was involved with some of the votes.
Okay.
And I may have missed it. It really doesn't matter, but I mean, I think like the one on the library.
Yeah.
And conservation.
Okay.
And I know we had the whole discussion, unless, because I know I had to like leave a few minutes.
Right.
early.
I remember you had to go. Yeah.
I couldn't remember. Did you like do final votes at the very end?
No.
We did some during, so you were at beginning. You
Yeah,
left.
you were.
You had to leave early after.
I don't think there was much more to the meeting.
You were there for fire, right?
Yep.
You were there for police.
Yep.
Highway.
I believe so.
And
Because I was there
then
for conservation.
highway. Then it was library.
Then it was like,
Yep.
yeah, you were there.
And then it was conservation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it was just recreation after that.
Were you there for rec?
I believe I was.
Okay.
But then there was a couple we waited till the very end for other, and we voted on a
that's
couple
right.
on the other. But I think there were some beforehand.
Yeah. So I think we covered everybody to that point.
No, that's like I said, that you voted for those at the end, but I know that I was involved with all the conversation about it. So.
All right. Okay. So I guess it's just a matter of going back and
just
making
correcting
sure
if
that
need be.
you were included. Okay. All right. Anybody have anything else? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve those minutes as amended.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Do I have discussion? All right, all those in favor of approval of the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Abstained? All right. Motion passes 3-1-0. Okay. Next item is plan work session. Jay, good evening. Seeing you out there remotely. So maybe you want to, I know that the committee got provided with a spreadsheet that Jay did. You should have all received it in your emails. So Jay, maybe you want to start tonight, introduce us to what this is and what it is that you've put together.
All right, so basically this is a first stab at a draft of putting together all the projects in one spreadsheet based on a few different things. So first of all, the requests that the departments made. In some cases, the departments were, for example, for highway, were pretty clear on what they were financing, how they were financing it, and what the breakdown was. So that was included. In some cases, I made some assumptions. So my assumptions may or may not be accurate or valid or consistent with what you're thinking, but nevertheless, I did. So I've attempted to put things in the way they were proposed, unless They were modified by a vote I found in the minutes. So I have to say some of the, it was not always clear, I think, what the intent of the group is. So I hope that I have captured it, to the best possible, but at least I figure this is a starting point for us to take a look at kind of what the totals look like each year, both municipal, school, and total. And then perhaps a good springboard to have some conversations moving things around. That said, I also realize now that I did not put in Parks and Rec's request, so I'm going to have to add that. Sorry about that. So that's what I've got. I don't know if there's any questions or if you want me to dive into any greater detail.
Just one thing. I know it's kind of, are you guys having difficulty hearing Jay, or is it?
The issue is if we turn up the phone here, we get an awful echo.
Okay. All right. No, it's just that you're very faint when you're talking, Jay, just from here, but apparently maybe.
All right. I'll try.
Sorry.
I'll try to enunciate.
Okay.
I think that's a problem in your conference room. It's clear in the WebEx.
Okay. All right. Does anybody have any questions for Jay in terms of the spreadsheet?
I think
probably
most significantly, and of course, I'm happy to answer any questions. Is you can see as you kind of go along the bottom that there are some significant swings from one year to another, for what that's worth.
All right. So I know members of the board, what we would like to do this evening? What would you like to, would you want to go review this? How would you like to proceed? Okay. So I have it down here. This is a planned work session. I guess my question is, does this schedule that Jay put together, do people have any questions about it in terms of its accuracy? Anything that's there that might be missing? I know he said that recreation is not there.
In my opinion, Mr. Chairman, it looks pretty thorough based upon the actions of the committee. I know at our last committee meeting, there was a conversation, about trying to get the library back in for some additional follow-up questions. It doesn't sound like that's going to happen tonight. So I think to me, that's still a big question mark as to really what the intentions are for the library. Obviously, we put in the request for the new facility that they've asked for, but I know there was some question marks about whether that actually makes fiscal sense.
Okay.
So just looking at the chart, and unless I'm looking at it incorrectly, I thought that because we had a long discussion as far as police department or school first. And it looks like police department's first now instead of school.
I didn't, this is Jay jumping in.
Yeah.
I didn't see a vote on that, so I wasn't sure what the intent was. I could be wrong and I might have missed that. So at this point, I just left it as the year requested. But if I missed a vote, I apologize for that. And you can certainly shift things around.
No, I think, am I on mute or can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay.
You can hear me? Okay, great. Yeah, no, I think that's correct. We did talk about as a committee that the school was probably the top priority, not probably, is definitely the top priority that the committee felt was the most important, with police being a second. I know, Mr. Burke, you had talked about, well, geez, can't there be, multiple top priorities, right?
Yeah.
And that was a conversation that we had, but I think the overall consensus was school would come in 2023.
Correct.
And then the police will be looking at 2024, if I recall.
That's correct.
And I can make that shift.
Well, I guess yeah, okay, that makes sense. I mean, obviously, I guess you could say that how it was put together in terms of, looks like I thought it was, basically what the town needs are and then school. But if you want to put the school, that's fine.
Well, I mean, yeah, I definitely see the school for the first $1.6 million payment to be 2024. Is that accurate? Because the vote would be in 2023. I think that actually probably is accurate, right?
That's how it
Yeah.
was presented. Obviously, that's subject to change, but that's how it was presented.
Right.
Yeah, wasn't there a 1-year lead time or something
Yeah.
that we spoke about too?
Well, we had to start in 2023 to get state aid.
Correct. So therefore, the bond's starting in 2024, the way this shows.
Right. So then,
Which seems right.
right. So then the fire department bond should start in 2025.
The fire department or the police?
I'm sorry, police department
Please.
should be 2025.
Okay.
And I know the chief is working right now to get us some updated anticipated costs on the town hall project for the fire station, for the police station.
Right.
And that should, I think
wanted-
we're looking for another week to 10 days before we see anything back on that.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I guess, so Jay, are you going to include recreation, I assume, once they submit their information, or how?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, I will.
Okay.
And that was a pretty small dollar amount relatively, but yes, I will.
Yeah, I think that was shared with us last time though, wasn't it?
I think it was.
Yeah. It was my omission. I'll include it.
Yeah, I think we plugged in 175K ask in 2022. Because it came up to like 161. And there was some other stuff we knew how to get done. So
You're talking about restriping.
yeah, striping. So we rounded it up to 175K.
I remember that. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we were waiting for the library. I think the issue was we didn't know what, the library's purpose in terms of legally, what it was going to, what their intent was in terms of the building staying where it is versus, building a new building, and whether that can be possible. So, but also too, engineering costs and stuff. So I guess a lot of that is still up in the air at this point. Okay. Well, let me ask you
So
this
we just have
question
a placeholder of 50,000 for engineering.
for engineering. Okay. So what are we looking to do in terms of, okay, does this, this draft, do we want to make changes to it tonight? Do we not want to make changes to it? We want to leave it as is and, add that information to it? Because at some point we're going to have a public hearing. And
Yeah.
I guess my issue with that was, and I don't know, I'm going to throw this out. How do we want to conduct the public hearing? Do we want to do it as we've normally done it in the meeting format, or do we want to have the public actually come in and do a presentation, kind of like what the school board meeting that I saw on TV did with the opening of the school, just to get the the constituents of the town to bring in their input. I don't know what the board's feeling is on that. Something to throw out there. Just because I don't know if we're going to get a lot of responses if we just do it this way in terms of a regular meeting where we would have it telephonic or remote or whatever, where people would come in. Because I don't know if a lot of people, I think if it would be better if people had an opportunity to respond to it face to face. But that's up to the board how they want to do it. But it's just a suggestion.
So, Jay, can you just like run us through like how it normally is handled? Like once the committee like finalizes, here's our draft of expenditures for the next 5 years, 6 years. What normally happens as far as like presenting to the public? Is it always presented to the public?
Well, there is always a public hearing.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, you have a public hearing and you would run through all the projects and the relative priorities.
Okay. And then does the public have a say at that point, or?
Yes. Public has a right to come comment, and then after the public has commented, you could decide you want to make changes, or in response to public comments. But you're going to close the public hearing and then take a vote to move this forward to the Board of Selectmen and the Planning Board.
Okay, so the public doesn't have the option.
And Budget Committee.
Public doesn't have the option to make changes to it. Then they can just suggest.
No.
No, we would just on feedback, right?
That's right.
If we wanted to.
Okay.
So do we want to bring this?
But
to
at the time of being presented to the voters, they could certainly make
Yes.
changes, right?
What's that?
Oh yeah, of course.
Well, I was just saying, at the time it's presented to the voters through a warrant article, they could make changes at that point.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. I just didn't know if they could make changes on this document.
Yeah, no.
Thank you.
And I was just commenting
So,
if we wanted
Jay,
to bring it to the planning board first to get their input.
So, I mean, certainly the planning board would be interested in looking at this. And we could probably, provide comments to the capital improvement committee and then bring it back to here and then obviously have a, public comment session or public hearing. And then, if we want to make changes, we can obviously do that at that point, based on what the comments are.
So Jay, sorry, Jay, this is Sean.
Yep.
Can you guys? Okay, I'm walking,
Yeah, we hear.
but I'm using my cell phone to talk. That link for that survey from the planning board that Mr. Cutter is that separate from what we're working on here? Like, if the survey is answered, is that part of our public input, or will we make the decisions and then change the survey for that?
So the survey is intended to support the planning board's development of the community facilities chapter of the master plan. But obviously, you really, ideally, these dovetail with each other. So you could use the survey as a vehicle to get public input in preparing the CIP. Absolutely, if the committee wants to, you could.
Yeah, so I guess that's where I was going to go next. Because the planning board is doing a survey. We're working on the capital facilities chapter of the master plan. And a lot of this stuff, I mean, I think really ties into what we're doing here as a committee in the capital improvement committee. And it might be a nice little segue and provide us with some, valuable information, public input information, to see where perhaps, those who do the survey, the public would weigh in on the issue of, what is it that they're thinking? What's the town looking at in terms of capital planning? So, I mean, it's up to the board, but we are this is really the capital. I'm sorry, I can't talk. The survey is really meant as a planning board initiative, but certainly we could use it and tie it into the capital improvement plan if we wanted to. So, and I think, I mean, a lot of the questions that are in that survey, I think some of them actually came out of our discussion in the capital improvement committee meetings. So I think it would be good to at least have that information. What is everybody else's thinking on that?
Can this, so I tried to open the survey again today, but I can't
Okay.
because it comes up saying it's in draft form. Then it's asking for my email and password.
Jay, do you know anything about that?
Well, let me just try signing in and see if it'll get me in.
Yeah,
Okay.
I do. Somebody filled out the survey, so I put it back in draft because it was still a draft, but I can resend the link if people want to take a look at it.
Yeah, if you could, that'd be great.
I'll open it back up and resend the link.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we're getting external data that's relevant, we should review it and see what we get out of it.
I would agree.
I mean, at this point, I'll just tell you where I am. I think, and I think, Jay, you mentioned this, that, you know, we see some peaks and valleys here in the totals year over year. I think if we had the rest of the numbers, we could probably level set this to make it a little more even. So we're not having, you know, such a rise and fall. I'm sure folks are not going to like that a whole lot. And then I guess I'm just curious what the best way to present this when we do try to go out to the public with it. Do you do a slide deck? I mean, I've never seen it done before. That's why I'm asking. And do you do a slide deck by vertical here and kind of go through and give a synopsis of it and then the totals at the end? I mean, how do we go about doing that for public consumption?
I mean, there's different ways that you could do that, but I think, I mean, the essence of what people are going to be interested in is what you see here. I think we would do, you know, some sort of a PowerPoint presentation. We do have some other visuals that, you know, could be helpful, such as, you know, we did have visuals from the police department, if that's the scenario that we're going to go with. So we'd probably include some information like that, just to make it, give people a better idea of what we're talking about. But essentially, yes, that's what it would be. And we would go through the recommendations, the projects, the numbers.
Okay. Now, the feedback would it come in on an overall basis, or would it be targeted at specific sections of this?
Well, my guess is that the people who are going to be interested in commenting, I mean, I don't want to presume, but you're probably going to have most of the people who comment. Well, first of all, you're probably not going to have an overwhelming number of comments. But I think most of the people who are going to comment probably are going to come to speak to a couple of particular projects, you know, that they feel particularly strong about or have a stake in. And that could be, some people may just want to come and, you know, speak in support of a project, even though it's already in here. Some people may, you know, feel that we should have additional funding for something. I don't know where you're going to go with your, you know, with the committee's recommendations. So just hypothetically, if the committee were not to recommend going forward with a new library, you could certainly see people coming forward and saying, gee, I support a new library. So that could be an example. But you know, I don't know that there's anything on here that's going to be particularly controversial. But you know, I would expect that that's what you're going to get. Some people commenting on particular projects that they have a particular interest in.
Yeah, I was just curious, because I mean, it's always a balance of need and risk, and you know, since I haven't done this in the past, and I don't think this has been done for quite some time, so I was kind of curious what we could anticipate.
Yeah, I think, you know, there's certain ones that I could anticipate. You know, again, I'm throwing these out completely hypothetically, but where you're going to find, I think where you see the greatest interest is where there are proposals that you decide not to fund that have a constituency. That's really where that's where you're going to get most of it.
That makes sense.
So there.
Okay.
I mean, when we get the other numbers, can we do a live session with this sheet? and you can just share your screen and we adjust, this would probably be easier. So
Yes,
everybody can see
definitely.
it. That'd be perfect.
All right.
Yeah, in fact, that would be a good idea because we could see how, it would automatically recalculate in real time as we move things
Right.
around.
Yeah. That's what I was kind of in, because it's kind of hard. I can guesstimate in my head down the line, but it'd be nice to see actuals.
So perhaps, I mean, would it be, in terms of the survey, if we're going to do that, have that done before we submit to public comment, or have that information available before we do that, or even before we submit it to planning board? Or do you want to have the planning board look at it and then make their comments, and then it's up to you. I mean, what do you guys think? How do you think we want to do that?
Well, what's the timetable in the survey?
Well,
So,
I mean,
Jay, jumping in on that,
Yeah.
I got a couple of, I did get some comments. So my intent was to make some amendments to the survey and, in response to those comments, and then it's really ready to go whenever we're ready.
okay.
Because you guys have a planning board tomorrow night, the 18th, so we're
Yes.
not ready for that to present. So the next time would be, you guys are what, the
First and third,
1st and 3rd. So your next one's going to be September 1st.
right? Do you think we would be ready by then, Jay? Or do you think that would be cutting it close?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it would be, I don't like to leave surveys out there for too long.
Yeah.
So I'm not looking at my calendar right now, but we can get the survey out this week, and so we could give it a turnaround time of, depending on what we think is reasonable. At least I think we want it out there for at least a week. So could we get results back? We could certainly close it and get results back by the September 1st, if that's our goal.
And who's the survey going out to?
So Jay,
So,
Yes.
yeah, the survey would go out
To.
to people for the public to take,
Okay.
or whoever.
Yeah.
So is it something the board can look at and make comment on before it goes
Yeah,
out?
well, that's what I was saying. I mean, we can still have it go to the planning board. Planning board can make recommendations as well, but at least the survey would be out there so that it can be done. And then we would have all that information with the planning
Right,
board.
no, but
I think
I'm
every
asking-
department head who has a question on it, I think they should at least be able to vet that question before it goes out.
Right.
I think
On
we
the
should
survey.
take a couple days and say, okay, this is what the survey questions are.
Right.
Okay.
You as
Oh, I
the
see what you're
school,
saying. All right.
You
Yeah.
as highway, you as police, this is how the verbiage is right now.
And then to the
Are you good
school.
with, that's right, the school also, do you want to change the verbiage?
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think it'd be good to get it past everybody before then.
Okay.
And I would think that we should probably give the Board of Selectmen and the school board a heads up that this survey is going out,
Right.
so they know ahead of time.
Yep.
As a courtesy.
Well, they already know Brian's here.
And so is
Right,
Steve.
Brian?
And so is Steve.
Formally let everybody know.
Right.
Because if we stay with our same cadence, our meeting would be, the next meeting would be the 31st.
Right.
So it'd be great if we could see the results on the 31st meeting and do a live session, moving all the values around,
Okay. All right.
would be my thought.
Mhm.
So our next meeting is the 31st?
The 31st.
If we stay with the same
If we stay.
cadence.
Yeah. Okay.
So the other question we have around that, since we're still waiting on the library and Parks and Rec, we're going to have to give them a deadline, or it's just going to keep moving.
Well,
Right.
Parks and Rec we have.
Is that something in our purview or ability to do?
Include it. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that information would be included, and then the library. Well, you can certainly include it, but you're going to need a little bit more information before you can do that. So,
So is it our intent to have two different sheets, one that has everything on it and then another one that which has our recommendations?
I mean, you could certainly
Because we,
do it that way.
throughout the whole process, we always said we wanted to capture everything.
Mhm.
But then as a committee, we wanted to kind of go forward with what we thought were
Right.
the right priorities at the right time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's different ways to present the information, but one way which could make sense is a spreadsheet that shows as presented, and then a spreadsheet that shows recommended.
Yeah.
So people would have the opportunity to see what the requests were, even if they may have been changed by the committee.
So Jay, do we also want to put it out or reorganize it, let it be known that we've agreed or voted for the school to be the priority from this committee anyway?
Yeah, so that's going to come out in a couple of ways. One, you've got the priorities that you're actually going to put, in the document, in the spreadsheet. And also there's going to be some verbiage. So the fact that the committee feels that the school is, the most important priority, we'll also say that verbally in the document, and we can make that point at the hearing as well.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So I know we set priority on the school and the police department. Do we need to go through and prioritize anything else?
Yes, we should probably do that at the next meeting as well.
Well, I think we somewhat did that based off of our actions for each one of the time. Yeah. We went through each one of them and we kind of said, do we want to go with option 1, 2, and 3?
Right.
And we kind of put where the priorities were and we tried to pick a year for each one of them. So in essence, I think we've already done that, but now we just got to capture it within the spreadsheets.
Just document it.
Yep.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So what we can do is then, well, I guess, Jay, we can probably get the survey out and see what feedback we get. And then we could have that information available for, you folks and by the 31st.
What means are we using to get it out? Are we just using social media or do we want to go through? I mean, I know the school has a great email database. If we could use that to get it out to residents.
You can, but I mean, you're only going to capture.
Yeah, but I'm thinking of many different ways of getting it out there. So we
Right.
try to capture almost everybody in town that we can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jay and I were kind of brainstorming this a couple of weeks ago at this point, right? And I was curious, with Mr. Brunel on the phone, right? I know, Mr. Brunel, you kind of have the oversight of the town Twitter account. Is there an opportunity to post this through that mechanism and have it push out to the social media pages?
Absolutely. No problem there.
Yeah.
Great.
So I think
So
we can
I'll
pick
work
up the
with John on getting it
town
out.
website,
Mhm.
the town Facebook page, cross-post it onto What's Up.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if we could utilize the school's database. I mean, are we
I think
throwing
those
out?
would be the main
Yeah,
points, the centers for.
Are we throwing out a big enough net to capture
Right.
the majority of the town?
I think that's what we want to do, at least try to do.
Right.
Makes sense.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
we've mentioned before about the older community, assisted living communities in Litchfield. Is it possible, or do we need hard copies? Maybe. I'm presuming that there's not much Twitter for the assisted living communities, around town.
That's a good point.
Do we need to maybe get some hard copies and bring them in?
I mean,
If we put together a
I don't know
slide
how we
deck, we could
facilitate
drop
it.
it off at their community centers.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
If I recall the conversation, right, I think the idea is, yes, we're trying to, solicit public input through the survey. That's great. But also as a part of our vision, right, if I think back to one of our first couple of meetings, we talked about kind of, getting this message out there and understanding that we do have 10, 55 plus communities in town. And how do we get them engaged who may not be in the Facebook world or in the Twitter world, right? And having kind of these more informal type of sessions that perhaps we could arrange at each one of these centers to have that conversation with those residents, right? So it'll be more informal, right? Somebody would be there presenting at their community center to get them engaged. But I think that's in addition to and separate from the survey being sent out.
I agree.
Yeah.
We
Agreed.
really need to get the information to them.
No, I agree.
And those opportunities are probably limited in the current time.
Yeah.
That is
Right.
true, yeah.
Do they even let you in?
Right.
I think that's an interesting question, like overall, right? I mean, I think everybody has that problem with communication to the.
Could we videotape the
communities
presentation
aren't
and
all-
have somebody just go and have it running in the community center, even if it's on a loop?
I suppose, we'd have to reach out to, I mean, I know that some of the 55 and older communities have
I was gonna
boards.
say, you're ahead of me. Why can't,
Still CTV.
that's right, and then post it on there.
Yeah.
That's probably the easiest way to do it. No different like meet the candidates, that kind of thing. Just
Right.
put the message out there.
Out
with the
there.
chart.
Go down in the bulletin board if they let you in, just put it up at this, this channel at these times is the cadence that it runs.
You don't have to go there, just mail it to them.
We can also provide with a thumb drive that has the content and just play it out whenever they want to.
Okay.
I think the best way to do it is do like a recording.
Yeah.
And have them broadcast it.
We have cameras.
Okay.
We're a TV
Well.
station.
All right. Well, I
So
think
who
that's-
wants to be the kind of the guy who presents the recording?
so,
Mr. Carter, I'd like to be involved in that. I don't know in what capacity. I don't have any kind of connections or anything, but to what degree they want to be involved, but I think it's important. So I'd like to help out somehow if I could.
Absolutely.
Well, I think certainly, I mean, I think that's that's a great thing. So if, anyone's interested and willing to do that, and certainly Russ, you probably can coordinate with Russ and put something together for those communities and so that they can get access to the information as needed. So.
Why don't we just make it more just kind of in general, right? Instead of having just be the communities that, these 10 plus, 55 plus communities that we're talking about, why don't we just do a recording, like a meeting, but you have one or two presenters to take you through the plan. And then that is broadcast. Anybody can stream it. Anybody can watch it. Here's the link. We get the message out. It's there 24/7 whenever you want to see it.
Yep.
Okay.
Right. That way you're COVID sensitive, right? We're not having to schedule 10, 15 meetings. Yes, it's not as personal and you're not soliciting feedback, which I'm sensitive to because somebody's just watching a video. So I think in addition to that, there has to be a mechanism for the community to provide input to our committee. I don't know what that looks like, but that should be a part of this.
Can we set up an email address, a comment email address or something we can put on there, or a phone number?
Yeah, maybe on the last, that's a great idea. Maybe on the last page of the presentation, right, in our PowerPoint slides where we walk through, you just have, this is how you get a hold of us. We have a CIP email address already that goes to all of us on the committee. If they have questions or comments, they can certainly, feel encouraged to email at that address. That's a great idea.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think that's.
How does everyone feel about that?
It's the best way to get to everybody.
I think
feel
so.
like the-
Yeah.
Sounds like a good
I mean, it
plan.
makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's something we need to do.
So,
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Mhm.
so after the August 31st meeting, then when we meet again and kind of make the final decisions and kind of play with these numbers on a final time, when is that recorded schedule? When is that meeting to record this scheduled and who leads that?
Well, my thought is, wouldn't you wait to get all the information from the planning board and just
Yeah,
everything
because I
together
think.
and almost present the presentation you're gonna do live?
Right. Because if we're gonna comment from the planning board and then we have the survey, and then you're gonna have to bring
together
everything
and have a
together.
Public meeting. So
Right, exactly.
whatever presentation we put together for the public meeting should probably be the same one that we tape.
Right, exactly.
Absolutely.
Right.
Or you even tape the public meeting.
Yeah.
But then it would be after the fact. They wouldn't have time to comment. Well, they could still send comments.
Yeah,
in.
they can. I mean,
So more or less just record,
Yeah.
record the public meeting. and
Or
then-
we leave a window open after the public meeting, right? For any external after the fact viewings.
Right.
That way we're all involved.
exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. Okay.
So realistically, I'm just thinking about timing after this public session, after the planning board presentation, after our meeting on August 31st as a committee again. This is likely not going to get recorded until what, October, beginning of October?
Yeah, it'd be the end of September, beginning of October.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that means as a committee, if we do, a 2-week, I'm just throwing it out there, right? A 2-week comment period, if it's in October after recording, so you're closing this out kind of mid-October to the third week in October. Is that kind of the right timing from the committee? I know it's much later than we anticipated given COVID, but
It gets really close to if we're going to, as a Board of Selectmen, school board, if we're going to do warrants. Our warrants are due by what? End of December, or it'll be into January?
Yeah, January,
Get into
like
January.
right before. Yeah.
Yeah. So pretty much right after the holidays, that's when all the warrant articles have to be in.
so that still gives you what, the better part of 2 months.
Yes.
I don't necessarily know if to give them 2 weeks to, for comments. I think 1 week would be sufficient.
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
Yeah.
if we're
So
just
you could leave the
concerned-
window at a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, whatever that right timing is, right? So
Yeah, the week is fine. Okay. You think that'll give you enough time, you think, in terms of putting it together from the Board of Selectmen and the school board perspective?
Putting what, the warrant articles together?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do
That's
this
plenty
pretty
of
quick.
So you're good. Okay. All right.
But the other part we have to do from a timing standpoint is we have to bring this in front of the Board of Selectmen also.
Right. So I guess that's what I'm saying. I mean, in terms
So
of.
whatever presentation we do for the public meeting,
Mhm.
the feedback of that, and we do it, then we have to do another one for
Right.
the Board of Selectmen
Right. Okay.
to adopt the plan.
Right.
Now, is the school board going to adopt, you guys are going to adopt the school board CIP plan, right?
Mhm.
Do you have a date for that, or you guys are still
No.
working? No.
So,
All right, you've
I
got
think-
enough going on.
no, I think we're waiting for all of this,
All
but I
this,
can find
okay.
out.
Yep.
Okay.
So just in terms of order, right, in practice, Mr. Webb, is it appropriate then for the planning board to present this to the select board, or is this a request of of our committee to present this to the select board? How does that work?
Normally, what I would say it would have been the planning board, but however, under the warrant that removed this from the planning board's hands
Mm.
and put it with the Board
Right.
of Selectmen, I think that the CIP should present it to the Board of Selectmen.
Certainly, the planning board will make recommendations and comments. It'll have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, and I think that
This-
would
this
be
board.
pulled back into the
Yeah.
CIP, but the final output, I think the CIP should present it to
Yeah.
the Board of Selectmen.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I will, obviously we have a meeting tomorrow night. The planning board has a meeting. We can certainly we can talk about this at the meeting. And let them know that, we're going to be putting this forward for recommendation. And
Mr. Cutter, off the top of your head, do you know when the Board of Selectmen are supposed to have all their budgets into the Budget Committee? Do you have that schedule?
I do. Give me one moment and I'll look.
Just trying to see where this falls into us having our Board Board of Selectmen having all the budgets done.
Yeah, let me just find the right folder here. I have it on my computer. We had said, from a town perspective, we're starting our review of the budgets on October 1st on the town side, with the scheduled conclusion of October 29th, not including warrants, but
Okay, thank you. So therefore, the October
Really the month
timing is
of October.
probably well for the Board of Selectmen to get a presentation from the CIP.
Okay. All right,
Thank you.
thanks.
Oh.
Okay. All right. So looks like then we will, if I can run by this, we will have this survey out. The survey will go out. We will present it to the planning board for their recommendations. And then once we have that information, we can have a discussion on how we want to proceed with the public or public comment. Is that one?
yeah, I just want to really be crystal clear on kind of the next steps, right? So,
Right,
you know,
no,
we
I
have
get
this
it.
survey that's going to go out. We have our August 31st meeting, and then my understanding is after August 31st, there'll be a public hearing scheduled, then the planning board review, and then after the planning board review, it'll be the presentation by the Capital Improvement Committee to the Board of Selectmen for acceptance of this plan. And then finally, it'll be the recorded presentation to the town. Is that the right order of events?
And before that, we need to get it in presenting to the planning board.
He did, yeah, he said.
Oh, you did say? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Review.
Sorry.
So is the public hearing before that? I believe it is, right? Or is the planning board before that?
I would think we'd want.
You can do it
planning
I
either
board.
think, yeah, I think the planning board will go first and then we'll do the public.
Okay,
So, yeah, in that order.
got it.
Mhm. That makes sense. Mhm. All right. Very good. Does anybody have any other questions about the draft? Okay.
Just so I've read, we're going to share the survey before it goes out with all the department heads, school board,
Yes.
everybody.
Everyone is going to be on board. So, yeah, the department heads will be
Yeah.
aware of it, school board, and, you know, and departments and, planning, not planning, the boards. So,
So Jay, if you could share that with Troy, so he can get engaged with the department heads, that'd be fantastic.
Right.
I'll let the board of selectmen know.
I'll get
Brian,
out
you'll
to
let
him
the school board
tomorrow.
know.
Yeah, on
Yes,
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Perfect.
It's actually perfect time if Jay's gonna be sending it out, because like I said, we have a meeting on Wednesday, so we can probably go through it.
Great.
Right. I'm gonna give him a tight turnaround though.
Please.
Yeah.
All right.
Then after that, silence is acceptance.
All in.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, Jay, and we will we'll move forward. Is there any other business this evening that we need to talk about?
I mean, just one comment, right? So as I look over the entire annual costs, I know there's some fluctuation in terms of the dates and, you know, kind of some shifting around that we talked about earlier. But on average, right, if I take that bottom number of 21.7 million, which is the 6-year total cost of all projects, and I divide that across the period, we're right around, $4 million a year, right? On average, how will tough decisions, and I guess that's more of a question for, when these years actually come up, right? And what's actually being presented to the voters. But I mean, to absorb $4 million a year in costs to fund all this is, beyond palatable, right? So how do we make those tough decisions, or is it really just deferred until those years and the select board and the school board will make those decisions on what to present?
That's my thought.
You know, it's my thought also that we're just going to have to wait and defer to those years. But my fear with doing that is nothing happens and this sits just like the last plan did. You know, and it's how do we, I don't know what word it's how do we make it a living document and that people are going to keep going back and looking at? Because it seems that, once it's done, it gets put on a shelf and nobody ever revisits it.
Well, I think it's one of the things we
Right. And
sorry. One of the things
go
I think we talked about, like one of the first meetings, that if we get together on a yearly basis and then revisit the plan, can you push something out another year? Can you push something out maybe 2 years because something's changed? I think that's probably part of what happened with the last plan is once it was developed and put out there that nothing ever was done as far as the upkeep.
So I don't think the committee can resolve. I think it has to be an ongoing committee, even if the cadence just changes to twice a year, once a quarter, or whatever the cadence is. I think somebody has to take the initiative to keep it alive and keep it moving and keep the conversations going.
I just see this document as very fluid
Mhm.
and will continue to be one.
Yeah.
I think in order for it to,
I mean, maybe when we do those annual, biannual, or whatever the timing looks like, we leave those open to the public and get feedback and just try to get more energy behind it to keep it driving forward.
Yep.
Right.
well, I agree. And I think this will be a good, I don't know, test case is the right word, but a good, opportunity to actually do this and to actually see what it will develop as, and then we'll go from there. I think we'll definitely, there may be kinks to it. Maybe there's things that have to be adjusted or going on, but if the committee continues to meet in an ongoing process, I think then things will start to develop and that there's a more of a rhythm to how things work. So, I mean, I would think that would make sense. And I guess we learn by doing. So it's important. Okay. So when's our next meeting?
31st.
31st.
If we stay with the 2 weeks.
Stay with the 2 weeks. So I guess, actually, before I even do that, I am going to open it up to public input one more time. Are there any members of the public who are listening in who want to provide comment this evening to the Capital Improvement Committee?
Mr. Chair, I don't see any members of the public online.
Let's start advertising our meetings on the marquee out here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there was nobody on? Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. All right, so I'll close public input. Anything else that anybody wants to add?
No, it's time.
Okay, so I think our next meeting is the 31st here at 6 o'clock Town Hall. At that time, we will have a little bit more information to provide the committee in terms of the survey and in terms of planning board review. Okay. I don't have anything else on the agenda. I don't know. Did Troy have anything? Steve?
I do not believe he had anything.
Okay. All right. So, if there's nothing else, I mean, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn unless someone has something they want to talk about.
So moved.
All right. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Abstained? Okay. Motion passes. What was it 300?
Five.
I'm sorry, 500. Oh, yeah.
Five.
Apologies. Okay. All right. So thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Jay. And we will be in touch and we will see everybody back on the 31st of August.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Be well.
Good night, everyone.
Well.
Night.